Yes. Topping your news first tonight, prisoner maltreatment, assault, and a cover-up are the latest accusations facing the Department of Corrections. In an exclusive interview, PNC's Jolene Tova sits down with a concerned family member who says her loved one is in danger. The names and identities of those involved have been withheld out of fear of retribution.
If you do the crime, then you must serve the time. But are those serving time behind bars safe and treated humanely? Or are instances of maltreatment and assault being swept under the rug? This is what one family member of a detainee says is occurring at the Department of Corrections. Her son has been incarcerated for 3 months on charges of robbery and assault. In that short period of time, he has come to fear for his life, not only from inmates but from the guards charged in overseeing his safety.
It could have been in the morning or in the afternoon when they called out cell inspection, and they had went to his cell and told him step aside or get on the ground. So he complied. And as soon as that happened, an inmate came running in and started hitting him and then ran out. And then that's when my son tried to defend himself. The officers also assaulted him. And then he was moved right away to another post.
What went through your mind when he's telling you that this happened?
Hurt, devastated, that I can't be there with him physically. 2 other inmates' lives were lost because of neglect of officers not doing their duty, and I was scared something like that was going to happen to my son.
While the 2 DOC officers and the inmate accused in the incident have been identified, we are withholding that information at the request of our source. She did share that for one of the officers, this was not the first assault on a prisoner.
He's pretty much known for doing that to inmates, or just what he did to my son.
According to her, the assault of her loved one is being swept under the rug, and he was denied immediate medical attention. She says her son's fear has caused him to attempt to harm himself so that he could be transported to GMH.
Right away I went up to GMH and went up there. He wasn't there. They discharged him to mental health. So I went down to mental health. Walked in right away and I seen my son there with the black eye and abrasions to his face.
Although she says her son didn't know why he was assaulted, she alleges that there is a hit on her loved one as a result of internal affairs leaking his name, automatically labeling him as a snitch.
And there was a price put on my son's head, and he's just in fear of his safety. He's still very concerned about his safety and still asks me to make calls because he's very limited to his calls in there. He's being denied to speak with anybody in regards to this. So he asked me to make a bunch of different calls, so that's what I've been doing, and I'm still getting to run around.
If that sounds familiar, that's because this is not the first time accusations have surfaced alleging that a prisoner has been gagged. You may recall earlier this year, another prisoner, Caitlin Brianne Scully, was allegedly assaulted while a DOC officer stood by. Then, according to her attorney, Curtis Vandeveld, she was prevented from reporting the incident. Instead, her attorney by chance discovered the assault occurred through another prisoner. Then there is the beating of DOC inmate Justin Meno, who was found hogtied in the open yard of the maximum security unit, bloodied and unable to speak. And of course, the most recent murder of detainee Manson Ernest, who was allegedly beat for an entire day and then sexually assaulted before he was discovered the next morning dead in a fresh set of clothing. At this time, no formal complaint has been filed, but the alleged victim's attorney is pursuing the matter in an attempt to transfer him to the Higotnya Detention Facility. PNC has approached DOC Director Tony Lamarena in regards to the accusations, and this is what he had to say.
Okay, I'm not aware of the assault. My understanding of the situation was that another inmate was out, and there was the other inmate. I mean, I have to look into it. I'm not aware of him being assaulted.
Lamarena reviewed the incident report, which tells a different story, as he says the report indicates that the alleged accuser was instead the aggressor. According to Lamarena, when the cell door opened, the accuser rushed an inmate who was assigned to work detail and began assaulting him. It was then that the 2 officers restrained him and transferred him to Post 5, or the disciplinary segregation unit. Lamarena further shares that the accuser has a history of assaulting officers, noting that an incident incident occurred at the Higanya detention facility. But according to the accuser's mother, it is a cover-up. She states, quote, "Yes, of course, that's the information you have from them. My son did advise me of this and that they are going to make it look like he is at fault. The incident in Higanya with the assault on the officer was that my son was provoked. Like I said, all lies and cover-ups to protect themselves. What about my son? So yes, of course, my son is going to be looked at as some kind of aggressor. That still does not give any DOC officer the right to do what they did to my son," end quote.
So with all this being said and done, I hope that this shines a light on people. Even inmates need to be safe.
Will an investigation into the matter be launched?
Well, I will now that I'm aware of it.
All right, so I understand that this happened.
I was not made aware of it. I mean, I was aware of an incident, but it was not in regards to. It was in regards to an assault on another enemy.
Okay. So,
I'm not aware that officers were involved.
reporting for PNC News, I'm Jolene Toves.